Today, we're talking about something that doesn't always get said out loud, but you can see the effects of it everywhere. And that's the importance of a positive male figure. I remember being at a youth basketball game not too long ago. There was chaos everywhere. If you've ever been to a youth basketball game, you know what I'm talking about. There's kids running around, players being called by officials, coaches yelling. And off to the side, there was this young athlete, and you could tell something was wrong, something was off. Head down, frustrated, not really engaged. Now watch the man, wasn't even her fault, walk over to her. Didn't yell, didn't lecture, just stood next to her for a second and said, "Hey, are you good?" That was it. That was it. That's all he said. "Are you good?" And after a minute, that kid started talking. Shoulders came up a little bit, energy shifted. And by the time she got on the court, now she wasn't perfect. She was having a bad day, but she was present. You see, that right there, that's what we're talking about. A positive male figure being there, making a difference. Now, that positive male figure in the story is here with me today. That's Mr. Malik Traff. That's him sitting there with us, looking fresh as ever. Malik, how are you
Thank you.
today?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here, man, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you here. As a matter of fact, Malik was the one who thought of this topic. I can't say, hey, I was sitting the other day. No, that was Malik that thought of this. And I want to ask you, Malik, what made this as a topic? Because we talked about getting together, doing a podcast together, and here we are. So I'm so happy about that. But what made you think of this as one that you would like to discuss?
To keep it short and sweet, you a big role model in my life, man. Like I met you shortly, like maybe 2, 3 years ago, but since then I've been trying to keep making sure, like myself and keep my motive to being what I met you in the first place is being a good person, and I want to be a good man to show you that I still am that, no matter what I've been through and what I come through. So it's like every time I talk to you, the words of wisdom and this motivation I get. So I wanted to make sure like the world knew that in different folds of how they come, that there's different male figures, you, me, and how different we are, but how much that we have in common in this bond that we share. So that's what really wanted to push, and it came to my mind. So you gave me the opportunity, and I'm definitely gonna like surprise you with what I got.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. Really, honestly, but the feeling is mutual because, as you know, in that story, you're the positive male figure that I look up to as well. And that's the beautiful thing about our relationship is it's mutual because there are times when I have come to you and say, "Hey, what do you think I should do?" Especially with you and I both being youth coaches
Yep,
and you and I both being figures, father figures to these young people.
yep.
I have to come to you and say, "Hey, a lot of times, Malik, what am I doing wrong?" Because it's a different generation. And so I look at you the same way. I look at you and I say, well, I want to be like him when I grow up.
I
So I think it's a mutual thing.
appreciate that.
It really is, and I love the way we mesh, we work well together. And the personality differences is actually what makes us
Crazy,
one
yeah, right.
powerhouse.
Crazy. You wouldn't expect it.
It really
Love it.
is. It's like what was the back in the day? It was one of those. I think it was like Unitron or something when the different pieces get together and then they make this
Oh,
one mega piece.
so mine, that's Power Rangers, but I
I got,
understand the.
I got it all wrong.
You're trying one on two, but that's the way. Then I understand. Yeah, yeah, I understand. I
But
understand.
that's what I see us as. When we
Yeah,
together, then it's just like nothing can separate us. But I know you had some things that was on your mind, and I'm a motor mouth, so you have to
yeah.
just shut me off. But some things that on your mind you want to discuss,
I just got some
man, by all
questions for
means.
you. Yeah, I got some questions for you, and
Okay, questions for me. Oh Lord.
so my first question to you is, what does a good male figure mean to you?
Fortunately, in my life, I had that. I had
Mm-hmm.
that positive male figure, and that's my father. He's my best friend, been my best man, my wedding. I mean, he's my best everything. So I had that in my life. So what it means to me is watching him, and I'm not saying to anybody that he's perfect, because he would tell you that he's not.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the one that I watched, and so I saw his good points. I saw his bad ones. I saw how it seems like he could move mountains, and then I saw sometimes how he felt that he couldn't. And in all of those things, he was very open with his children. He was open with us. So I was able to learn that a good man doesn't mean that you know everything, that you just got it all figured out. But a good man to me means that you live life each and every day trying to learn to be a better man than the day you were before. And that's what I saw my father do. I saw him every day he was trying to be a better person. And in that I emulate him. I look at that example, and he was not one of those. Now he is big and strong. That's where I get all the height and all that stuff from, of course. But he didn't act that way. He
Yeah.
wasn't some bully or some big giant that you do what I told you to do. With him, it was all life lessons, explanations, and until this day, I mean, that's who I call, and I talk to when I need I need counsel, I need guidance. I give him a call, and he'll sit down and tell me these things. He tells me what I need to hear, and it's not always perfect, but it's always right. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me.
And being that you said you seen him in his highs and his lows, right? So how did he handle his stresses, and then how did that help you handle yours as a man now?
Well, I remember one of his de-stressors was he loved sports cars. So we always had in the family, we always had a sports car sitting around somewhere.
Yeah.
And he wasn't discriminate. Some folks they just Ford people or they Chevy or they Dodge or whatever.
Nah,
Not my dad. He liked whatever was,
he
the
in that
muscle car
moment.
of the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And so his de-stressor was getting in his car. He would get in his car, he would take a drive, he'd shift through the gears and he'd figure it out. And that's what I do. It's amazing how you emulate, your
Yeah.
father figures.
It's
But
figure,
I
yeah.
do when I'm stressed, like I done had it up to here. I can't seem to figure it out. Everything coming at me. As people know in this podcast, I don't try to make anything like people do on social media, like, oh, my life is perfect and everything is great. And none of that. When I go through the stresses of life, I hop in my car and I drive. And sometimes I'm driving and driving, and I may not figure it out in that one drive, but it helps me to decompress. And even as some days I'll hop on the motorcycle. It might not even be a car. I'll hop on the bike. You see me on the bike, and I think some of our worst moments that we had in coaching, those were the days that the next day you saw me on the bike because I
But
had to totally let all that go. But that's what
yeah.
he did. It wasn't, hey, let me go grab a bottle or let me, go get a smoke. No, it was, he found a way to de-stress without it being some awful habit and in a way that his children could emulate later too. And that's not that I look down on anybody that
Nah. Everybody
grab a
has their
drink because I don't see anything wrong
their
with
vices. Yeah.
drinking, but I'm just saying it just wasn't his thing. It was, let me hop in there. One time it was a Mustang, then it was a Camaro. We had them all. And as you see me, I love my sports cars, so that's what I do to de-stress. Better than
And
arguing, yelling, cursing, and screaming. That solves nothing.
now that's a good way to get out of it. And then so you already said your father is your biggest role model. So what has he taught you most in life? And and in a quote, or give me something that sticks to you that he gave you as a male figure to you.
Well, he taught me that I was, you know, never going to be perfect, but that I was going to be something that nobody else could be. I was going to be me. And there was only one me, and that one me is the one me that he loved the most. And so that's what he taught me. He taught me that. And then one day, and I'm sitting here, I want to find this because this really means a lot to me. One day I opened up my mailbox. I didn't even see this coming. And my father, he decides that he's gonna send me a gift. And I tell you, I didn't know you and I were going there because you hit me with the questions,
Telling you,
and I appreciate it.
need it.
Thank you. I like being put on the spot. But there was a gift, and here it is. I found it. I wanted to pull up the picture of it because I didn't bring it down with me. That he gave me a pocket watch. I
Mhm.
grew up. Dad used to love wearing these pocket watches, and he worked on the railroad, so he had these railroad pocket watches. They were awesome. So he sent me a pocket watch, and it's inscribed. It says, "To my son, James, I want you to believe deep in your heart that you're capable of achieving anything you put your mind to, that you will never lose. You will either win or learn." That's powerful. Just go forth and aim for the skies. I can't promise to be here for the rest of your life, but I can promise to love you for the rest of mine. Love, Dad. And I have a picture of me. I don't know if we can see it. Me kissing that, and I sent it to him. A picture of me reading that. And honestly, when I'm having my worst day, or when things just seem they just not going my way, I remember what Dad said: "I will never lose. I will win,
Yeah,
or
I
I will
love,
learn."
and I
You
like that
know.
one. I like that one.
And wow, I mean, what a gift. And that's something that I'll have forever. But I do hope that, he says now he'll love me for the rest of his life, but
Hmm.
it's mutual. I will love him for the rest of mine.
Man, you about to bring tears to
Yeah,
my eyes.
you, yeah, you heard the voice crack. We both about to be, it's about to be
Can't
a
lie.
tear fest up in here.
This is stuff that I feel like I missed out on. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Stuff I just feel like that people on the other side, because coming from me, I had never had no father, so I'm not gonna ever get this type of connection with a man. So it's like to hear these type of things is, I wonder, is that why I am the way I am? You know what I'm saying? Like try to break it out, try to figure myself out.
And there's nothing wrong with trying to figure yourself out. But the thing about it is, and what we're talking about today is exactly right along with what you mentioned. I mean, you didn't have that growing up. That's not your fault. But
Mm-mm.
the fact of the matter is that you are not reluctant to having that now. So then that allows your heart, your mind, your body to accept other people into your life that can be there for you. That can love you the way that you deserve to be loved. And that other person who didn't get that wonderful opportunity to know you and love you and raise you, they missed out, Malik. They missed out. Because I know what a beautiful person that you are. And
Thank you.
so that's a testament to who you are as a human being. Your mom either, but I
Yeah,
imagine there was a lot that she instilled in you as well, and others that have come along in your life. And Phil, I mean, for me, it wasn't just my father. He's the most important figure,
yeah,
but there were other males that just came along, whether they were in my congregation, um, some were neighbors, uh, some were, other figures in my life that said, "Hey, they took an interest. I want to take an interest in this kid. I see potential. I see something in him." So I'm sure you had the
I
same.
know.
It happened.
So you're driving me to my next question to you. Is it possible for a male to be a good male figure or a good, even good man, period, without a actual father in their life?
I believe so. I see it. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at you right now. Yeah, absolutely.
with
I
no.
don't think that the lack of a father would determine whether someone's going to be a great father later on. I actually believe that there's a breaking of the cycle. I believe that in life, not everybody had what I had growing up.
Hmm.
Some men like yourself, you're building from scratch, not stretch, building from scratch, trying to become something that you never experienced, and that can't be easy. But you know what? I respect that more than anything because that's where change lives. That's that in your home, in your heart is where change lives because every time that Malik chooses patience over anger, every time with your kids that you choose presence over absence, every time with the little Traftons that you choose guidance over silence, you're breaking that cycle. You're tearing that whole cycle up because you're doing what you weren't even taught. You building it from scratch. And that's a beautiful thing too. To see someone be able to do that without an example. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna make it seem like it wasn't no example. Just like you said, it's male figures that I looked up to you, for example, and other ones that came along. But I was saying like these memories you have and these connections, like the answer, like you said, not every man's gonna have the answer, but to have a man to call up and ask, is it okay to cry, or hey dad, how do I do this, or like you said, you have a car, the car thing with your father, and I love it. That bond, I feel like with another male, I won't have that, and I'm trying to instill that with me and my kids, and then the other kids that I see when they look up to me, I try to do the same thing because you never know who needs it. So that's why the whole notion of being a good role model, a good male figure, is really important to me because without that, I don't think I have nothing else because I ain't got like it's something for me to prove to myself, I guess.
Like you said, having somebody that you can call and touch base with and those kind of things, that's important. And I can get where you're coming from. But the thing about it is you've gained those people. We just all of us we have to utilize it. We gain it. You know, God makes sure that we gain these people into our lives. I remember when I moved to Ohio, and it's the first time I had ever left my home. I'm from Georgia, and I never left. And here I am. I was at that time, I think I was like 20 something, 29, I believe. And, I always lived right down the street from my parents. And to then be several hundred miles away, but there was this man, and he, I met him in the congregation, just random. I just, went to this one congregation. He was there, and he just adopted me like I was his son. I mean, he literally called me son from that point forward. From that point till the day of his death, he viewed me as his son, and even with my dad being around, like they came to visit, Georgia came to visit my father and everything, it was just joyous, both of them calling me son, but what I even bring that up is because, there was, his name was Ken, and Ken's, with me being around him, I learned so much from him too. I learned love as well, but I learned his love. And he never had kids.
Yeah,
So his love was just pure. He didn't have to pour it into somebody else and then he gonna give James the scraps. No, he looked at James like, you're the kid I didn't have.
yeah,
And he treated me that way. And so that's the thing about it too. Malik, is that, people come in your life, they love you. The love is pure, and it doesn't have to be the person that was
grenade
as
you.
as
Yeah,
as the women say today, a sperm donor. Don't have to be that. It could be a person who just genuinely chose you.
yeah, and
My
want you
dad
to.
says this all the time. My
Hmm.
dad say, true brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers don't necessarily have to have the same bloodline.
Hmm.
You can choose the person you love, and that's even more powerful because that person got to know you and still stuck with you.
I
You know, the
understand.
bloodline, they feel like they got to stay with you because hey, that's my blood. But what about the person that met you and saw your mistakes, but still said, hey, I'm gonna be with him and I'm gonna be there for him, man, and I'm gonna be that. So you have I know you as a person, and so
Yeah.
you have a whole host of people who love you. And I hope that reaches out to people who are listening to this podcast because there's a whole lot more of you than there are of me.
Yeah.
Because we're in two different generations. And
Yeah.
so the generation I grew up in, it was getting to that point where, we were having a 40-50% divorce rate.
Hmm.
Now we at the place where we having 75, 80, 90% divorce rate. And so
Yeah.
people are not necessarily together. And so kids may miss that one parent or the other.
Hmm.
But you have a host of folks, older than you and younger than you.
Yeah.
Those other ones look up to you. And me as one who's older than you, I look up to you by the
And
way you
that's
carry
crazy.
yourself.
Every time you say it, it's crazy. It made me feel good.
It's true. It's true. And it's not the first time I've told
No,
you.
no, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
I
Nah.
think a lot of times, and you mentioned this off of camera, but a
Mhm.
lot of times, and I'll just bring it up because I'm not scared, you know. But a
Okay.
lot of times, it's racial in that we as African Americans, we
Hmm.
feel like we gotta be strong, like
Got
we
to
just
be.
gotta be some Superman, and we don't have to be. I don't know where it came from. I think it's in most men, but I wasn't raised by most men or different races. I know how I was raised,
Yeah.
and I know what race I was raised in. And with black men, it seems like we got to be hard all the time. No
Got to be.
softness, like you said.
No emotion.
You
You
mentioned
can't
earlier, like
can't
it,
cry. You can't show your weakness, and if you do, then that's a flaw in itself, and that's crazy.
it's crazy. Seriously, I mean, God gave us tear ducts too. They're
To
for a
cry,
reason.
to let
They
it
ain't
go.
just the blink and get rid of pollen. They need to cry too. And the strongest men that I've ever seen,
Hmm.
I saw my father cry. I saw my father cry.
And
I
and
saw
how do you feel about that though? As your male figure, how do you feel about that?
I needed to see it
Yeah.
because the first time I saw it was when his father died. And that was powerful to me. I mean, he could have been tough and all of that and muscular and hey, walk around like Sylvester Stallone or something. But
Hmm.
no, he wept. It hurt. He loved that man. And so for that didn't make him
Nothing.
soft or weak. That let me see him as gentle because he's firm with my sister and I, but he could also be gentle, and that was beautiful. I mean, because then he showed me that's who you can be. I can be genuine. I can
Mm-hmm.
be real. I ain't got to hold back. And he was always one who could correct me without breaking me. He had to be strong and I'm a break in half kind of person. I'll be dominating. It was none of that. It was balance, and that's what sticks out. I needed that in my life, and I think I was about 7 when my grandfather died. I needed to see that
Mm.
because his action then has guided my actions since.
Yeah.
Because anytime I find out someone has lost a loved one, or like presently I got a friend in my life going through the whole parents are becoming elderly and they're and having to deal with finding a home or the best care or the best this, my gentleness comes out, my
You
my
understand?
tears, my love, because I first saw it from that man.
Hmm.
There's many times where you and I have been together and we've had heart to hearts, and
Yeah.
I know that you've heard my voice crack, and I'm not ashamed to say, if the tears come, they come.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that's what makes a man. We're not action figures. We're not movie action heroes or Marvel comics. We real people, and real people hurt. And real people have emotions, and real people
Mhm.
cry. And if they don't, they're gonna end up needing a therapist. I mean, honestly, because you're gonna need some help. Because you
Yeah,
just can't walk around like that. That's not how God intended us. That's not how He created us. Even Jesus wept. He looked at the people. He looked at the people. They were torn about. They were weak. They were in bad shape, and he cried. He wept. He didn't tell them how tough he was. He brought out his tender side and helped.
fun fact about that, that's a Bible verse that when I was a kid, my grandma, when she took us to church, and they used to have the kids used to have to say a Bible verse. That's when she always used to whisper in my ear like Jesus wept, so you can remember it. That's why I laugh because I know that
Yeah,
one by heart.
got that one down.
Got that one. And
Got
in the
that one.
beginning, God brought the in the beginning. What is it? God brought the light and the sun, or in the sun and the light. I got to know something like that. Got to know the first line in the Bible.
You gonna get us all the way to the Genesis on here.
I'm telling you, you know what I mean, it's
But
somewhere in there.
yeah, but he also created man and woman, and
Mm-hmm.
it's sad that we have this generation that's not getting to know both parents and not having both of them around
Yep.
so often. And sadly, especially with you and I in sports, we see it all the time where the male figures are absent.
Yep.
Where are they?
Yep.
You look around in the stands and you like, where are the men? The only men on the floor I've seen in games have been you and me. Like, where's all the fathers?
Yep.
Where?
Or and you do have some, but then if you do, you got the overly barren father, and you don't want that either. You don't want the one that's trying to put the whole dynasty on the kid, because then it's like it's not that serious either.
No, we've had to remind some of them fathers that this is middle
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. The
We don't need
dynasty.
you down on the court yelling at the child and all of that.
Some of it's a win-win.
But I have to give even those ones credit for being there
Being
because
there, yeah.
it's so many that's just where are they? We got all these kids. We got each team out there. Basketball. We hopefully we'll have
15.
15
Yeah,
kids. So
hopefully.
you got 30 children, and you look around the stands, and it's like two dads.
30
You
days.
know
You don't see 30 days.
what? Like what is this? And and bringing up how black men are raised. That's not me sitting here trying to make it a race issue because I'm just saying being raised in a black household and being around African Americans my whole life, I know that whole tough adage is
Mm-hmm.
played and worn out. It's been there since I've been here and way before I've been here,
Yep.
and
And
I
it's
know
still
at one
going
point
on.
in
It's
time we
still
had
going
to
on.
be.
It's still
Because if
going
you're
on.
a slave or you're a child of a slave, you're going to have a certain toughness about you. I mean, you got beat with whips for
Look,
God's sake. So
yeah,
there's
for a
going to be
living.
this toughness,
Yeah.
as generations go on, this toughness is being taught as though it's the only way. And that's not true.
And then it's either too soft and too sassy. And then because we're in that new era where everything's acceptable now. So now everything's acceptable. Now we want people to be emotional. We want men to have their feelings, but now they're trying to label us as soft and sassy as well. Like everything is feminine that we're doing. So there's no balance, there's no win to it, because as a man, if you want to be one with yourself, you want to be a human being, you have emotions. But if you do it too much, now you're labeled as sassy, you're labeled as feminine, you're labeled as soft. So it's hard nowadays because, like you said, you don't want to be. We're not in the slavery era anymore, and we're not in the era now either where people are trying to hide who they are. So now that we're in this era where everything's open and accessible, it's like where's the balance? Where's the so I was watching a movie, and like the person I was watching with did not like the gender norms of a woman proposing to a man. That was not right. That's not supposed to be like that. And I'm like, in my eyes, I'm like, what's the matter with that? What's wrong with that? She loves him. There's nothing wrong with that. She's showing she loves him actually. But so now it's looked at as that's weird. That's sassy. Why would a man
Mhm.
want a woman to propose to him? But I just want somebody to love me. And then
Period.
I learned that men want someone to love them like their mothers do, and your mother loves you unconditionally. But a woman will never love you like your mother does, because a woman love comes with a condition because she's not your mother. She never made you. So a woman's gonna say I love you, but that's not no period. It's I love you because of something. I love you because you make me feel this way. I love you because you did this. Not because I love you because you're my man. I love you because you're the man that provides. It's none of that. It's never going to be that. So, and that's the hard part of why the topic is important to me of being a good role model, being a good male figure, because the fact that not having no dad and not having a successful marriage and stuff like that, it gets to you. It's the labels that all gets to you, and it makes you feel like that you're lesser of a man because of the fact that everybody wants to label you a certain way, and
Well,
it's like wow.
I've always said that labels belong on soup can. I don't go with this labeling people thing. I think a person has to be who they are. And just because you may or an individual may have emotions or they may have certain feelings, that doesn't mean that they're feminine or they're not masculine. You know,
That's
that
what it
means
is.
that they are in tune with their own emotions. Again, that is healthy. That's healthy. Now, ones who are out here hiding their feelings and suppressing them, that's unhealthy, and that's going to lead to some mental health issues later on. But if you're able to be who you are, and I implore, and I'm glad you brought up women because I like to flip it for a second. Let's talk about what a strong male can do in a young woman's life.
Man, it
You
makes
know,
a big
I
difference.
watched my sister. You know, my father has always been there, and I watched what a strong woman she became. And you know, again, men we don't really recognize as being a positive male figure what we do with a young lady. You
Yeah, it
know,
takes
our
a woman,
child or a young
or
one that we
the women
help
you're
in school
around.
or
Yep,
wherever we're
the women.
helping this person.
Yep,
Because if we begin to show these young ladies that we respect them, we listen to them, we treat them like they matter,
yep.
we're making changes in their lives later on so that hopefully when they do get a husband, they won't say the things you just said some people have been saying, saying they, you know, they man is, you know,
Is
feminine
less.
or what. Hopefully they will realize what a strong man is because they had the chance to see one. So I think that it's actually if a male figure is there in a woman's life, we see strength.
Yeah,
And honestly, it's the opposite when they're absent. It leaves a lot of questions for young ladies. Like, you know, what does respect look like? Or
yep,
what would I want my future husband to be? Or what should I accept from a man? I
yep.
know, you know, now being, you know, a father, uh, I want to give them everything that I can give them. And that don't mean that we are here, you know, buying Corvettes and Rolls Royces. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Hmm.
about everything that I can give as a man to them. So that they get the emotional support, they get the love, they get all of these things. So that when there is somebody that comes along, they're not going to just accept anything. Like I said, ain't nobody gonna come up to this house and just blow the horn and you walk outside. No, they're gonna have to respect you. I'm not going to even have to say it because you're going to demand it. You're going to demand it from that man. Why? Because you was raised around a man who gave you that type of love, that type of respect,
Understanding.
who
Yeah,
made you, yeah, realize who you are as a woman. You know, gave you like I tell them, I give you a mirror. I buy you a mirror every day so that you can see your self worth. You got to see who you are. See
yep,
that way you don't accept any old thing. But
yep,
but so a positive male figure is able to answer those questions like, you know, what does respect look like? What should I accept? When we're in their lives, we answer those questions. And that's a lot of times these ones that we're talking about here that don't appreciate you know what they have, they didn't really have that positive male figure in their life either. I'm not saying, you know, a lot of times that's missing. And then that's the
yeah.
reason why we have
Relation.
all of it goes back to God created both male and female, but somehow we on this earth think that we can just do it by ourselves. We
Yeah,
need both people to help raise some kids. so that they do grow up to be able to answer the big questions in their head that they're going to have. Like all these questions you say you're having because that male figure was leaving, that male figure need to be there to answer those questions for you.
It
And
got to be.
it's important. And even if we don't get along, we got to be there for these kids. We got to so that they come out okay and they
Yeah.
all right. But I like the fact that we've touched on breaking the cycle. We touched on what it means to not only young men, young women, and strength. I enjoy talking about strength because I mean I've been around folks. Like I say, I got bodybuilder type people in my family, but
Yeah.
strength ain't what we need all the time. What we need
No.
is somebody that's gonna understand, somebody
Yeah.
that's gonna to love us, care for us, treat us the way we need to be treated, and that person does not have to be a bloodline. Now, I emphasize that it just doesn't have to be. You know,
And the crazy
I,
thing to touch on the strength part, because from your end, I'm not the biggest person at all. I'm not at all. When you see me, you do not think of strength. And the crazy part is, my heart big enough. The endurance in me, I'm stronger than an ox. Don't let my size fool you.
well, I see you as strong because I know who you are. I mean, I know you.
No,
I
I
know you can
understand,
go out here
but
and lift a Volkswagen tomorrow. But
strength don't
it's
always mean physical stature. And I love how you saying that. It don't always mean physical stature.
not at
It
all.
don't.
Not at all. When I think back to that basketball game, I think about that. You didn't give her a big speech. There was no spotlight put on you. Nobody shined a light like, "Oh, look at what Malik is doing with this young lady." No,
No.
nobody sat over there like in the movies and did a slow clap. Seeing what you. None of that happened.
Uh-uh.
But what that kid will remember is
Yeah.
that moment in time. I was
Yeah.
at my worst. I was mentally out of my place. And this young man came over to me to make sure I was okay. And
Always.
it's not because of what you said. I don't really, I know you said the one thing that you're like, are
Yeah.
you okay?
Yeah.
It really wasn't about the words. It was because you showed up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I guess so.
And that's what a male figure is. He's
Yeah.
one who shows up. Not once, not when it's good, not when she scored 20 points. No, you showing up when she's at her lowest. When
Yeah.
she didn't know she could. And you told her you can and showed her the way. So it's not always loud. You ain't got to be bombastic. You ain't got to be, built like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-mm.
It's not loud. It's not always seen, but it's always felt. Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you say. They will even forget what you do, but they'll never
Never forget how
forget
you
how you
made them
make
feel.
them feel.
All right, Lord, that's a good one. Yes, sir.
And
That's
that's
a
that's
good one.
the truth. I've never forgot how people make me feel.
Yeah.
And you matter
Yeah.
more than you think.
Thank you.
And I matter.
Oh no,
And
you definitely.
anybody that's out there that is a positive role model to somebody, it doesn't have to be your child.
Yeah, you matter.
They matter. They
Matter.
matter.
And on this subject, my grandma used to always tell me, and then I want to make sure I let you know this too, because I want to know, even with all the bad that I tell you, or how I feel, and the reason I asked the question, she always used to tell me though, I never might not know who my real father is, but I always had God. Like God is my real father. If I didn't never have one, I had him. And
That's exactly right.
I take that with me everywhere I go, because no matter what, ain't nobody got to accept me but him. So
Yeah.
even if I feel at
Yeah.
my lowest, I do know I got somebody.
That's exactly right. That's so true. I remember this. It's a comedy. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Ted with the little teddy bear,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but Ted was about to get kidnapped by this one guy, and so Ted, the guy was like, I grew up without friends. Ted was like, that's terrible. He's like, I felt alone. And Ted goes, well, you're never alone with Jesus. And, I mean, it's a comedy, it made everybody laugh. But how
No, but
true that statement? Because, like you just said, you
yeah,
really always have your heavenly Father. Yeah,
you
he's
do.
always
Yeah,
there.
you
He
do.
never abandons you. Never,
Yeah,
never walks away. Never
taking you now.
divorces and leaves you. Never,
Yeah,
ships off and never speaks. He's always there. And those of us who are close to him know that. We know that, when we're in our darkest places, yes, I know I can call my father, and like you say, you don't have that. But I
No,
tell you what,
but that
there's
same
times that I
expression.
didn't. I'm sorry.
No, that same expression you said I could pick up and call my father, I actually could. It just get out on your knees and pray. It's just that you got to stick up in a different way. It's just some people are at a time period as a young man, I wasn't mature enough to know that as you grow, you understand that. Like my grandma used to tell me, I'm telling you, my grandmother passed, she loved it. I'm telling you this. She used to tell me all the time, but it never started to resonate until I wanted to be better, man. I wanted to be a good man. I wanted to be a good role model.
Yes,
Because
and I
you
know.
gotta want to. You gotta want to. It's not just something that because it's harder. It's actually way harder than it really is. Life is actually way harder to choosing the right path than it is to choose the wrong.
Yeah,
Like this
yeah,
this this journey I've been going on for the last 5 years has been the hardest journey of my life because it's me choosing the right things to do. Because anybody could post the wrong things on the social media. You can post anything on your social media. This is just a small example of where being a good male role model, you actually have to pay attention to the things that you post. Because I'm all for one being themselves, having your own style. I'm all for that. But you have to understand that if you're going to be a good male figure, a good role model, that somebody's looking up to you. They're looking at what you're posting. They're going to post the same thing that you're posting. So the way
yeah,
that you go about it, you have to post it in a certain way. So like as a grown man, and I still carry myself to this day, like even when I'm coaching or not coaching, like I still carry myself to as a manner of what I post because somebody could be following in my footsteps, and I want a young man to do it right. And there's no right or wrong answer. I just want him to do it in a way where it's acceptable.
yeah, yeah. That's beautifully put. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And we do live in a world where, we got social media and so many other things out
Yep,
there.
and
We have to be
that's a
careful
small. Mm-hmm.
what we do, what we say, um, because people they can look at you as a role model from afar, from your social media and things like that, and you don't want to be the opposite of what they expect from you. That's so true. But thank you, man. I really appreciate this. I appreciate the opportunity for us to finally be able to sit down and talk and be there for the people. But what I want others to understand out there is that you gotta, as you put it, you gotta want it. It's not
Got
going. You gotta want to be that, and you gotta want to, and then you just got to be enough to go out there, take the bull by the horns, and support someone. And I know there are several clubs out there as well that you can be a big brother, big sister, boys and girls clubs, and all that. But you
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily. Those are wonderful organizations, but you don't necessarily have to go sign up somewhere. You
Mm.
can be that to the person next door, to the
Yep.
the kid in your class,
Well
to
said.
to wherever you are,
Well
you
said.
can be that role model, because I know me having, I'm going back to dad again, but there's individuals in my life I grew up with who were fatherless. Like there was, but my dad was their dad, and they mentioned it to me, like, when there was discipline given, and I don't mean, my father wasn't one of those physical discipline people. He was the talk to you kind. That he gave to each of us,
Hmm.
so we're just, oh, I love my son, so I'm just gonna counsel him. No, he would counsel all of us, because we all needed it, and we all grew up like brothers because he made that bond there. And I remember when, there were times when he wanted us to do things spiritually, and we were like, oh, we was up all night playing cards. No, he's like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what I need you to do is this. He didn't even listen to all that.
Hmm.
That's the kind of discipline I'm talking about. We still did had our family study, we had whatever we had to do. And we were, like I said, that bonded us as brothers, because we had that male figure. So any one of us, any male can decide that that's what he wants to do. I just don't want it to continue being the kind of world where we don't even talk about it, where we don't have that positive male figure in our
Well,
lives.
Courtney, stay right there. Stay right there.
And you got your babies
Yeah.
actually talking to you. So what I'm going to do is we'll go ahead and conclude our time together. But
Yeah,
what I
sir.
want you to do, Malik, is always remember you got, right here, their phone's always here. And I do know with you, same way. I've called you, said, hey, I need to talk. And whatever you doing, you done pulled open and done it.
Always, always.
So as always, what we want to do, we named this Live, Laugh, Talk. And where it came from is I want you to live well, I want you to laugh often, but I want a whole lot of conversation. Because when we have conversations like this, it's a better word.
Thank you, man. I appreciate this. You more than you know, man.
Well, thank you for being here, man. And I tell you what, look forward to future conversations.
You know it, man. You
Tell
know it, man.
tell the little one I said goodbye.